Dun dun dun! I am back for my second Harry Potter review video, this time doing the second book and movie, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This was actually the first Harry Potter book I read because I'm just going to give you the whole long spiel. I was playing some sort of game with my younger siblings, and then, I don't know, I lost and I was out. And I saw lying on the couch this book. This was, I can tell you the exact date, October 24th, 1999. Yes, I remember because I'm a dork. I had previously read an article in Nickelodeon magazine about Harry Potter, and I thought it didn't sound really that interesting because it was about a little boy, and I was a 12-year-old girl, so I'm like, I'm too mature for this. I don't want to read about a little boy. I can't relate to that. It's stupid and it's kiddie, whatever. But then the book was there. I was there. I needed to be reading something at all times then, and like I still do now. And I picked it up and read it. And from like the very first paragraph, I was hooked. It starts, it's Harry is back at the Dursleys after the first book, and everything is going miserably for him. He had met all of these friends and stuff during his first year, but now all of a sudden no one is writing to him. So he thought that everybody forgot and didn't care about him, and it just started off like Harry was pretty down. Then, as you know, there's bigger things behind that all, and there's the whole thing with supposedly hidden chamber at Hogwarts and people being petrified and who is the heir of Slytherin. Yeah, so this was my introduction to Harry Potter, and it was so engrossing at the time. I just could not put it down. And then I remember when it was my turn to go back in the game, like my brother was yelling at me, like, that's my book anyway, put it down. I'm like, no, I'm reading. I need to find out what happens. This is so interesting. And I think I didn't get to finish it maybe until the next day because I had to do other crap. So it was kind of disappointing. But yeah, as soon as I finished this, I had to go and read the other books. And what do you know? My brother also happened to have the first book. He didn't read either of them. I don't know. Then I went out and bought the third one. Well, I had my mom buy it for me because I didn't have any money. Yeah. Okay, so this book, it is kind of still similar to the first one in that it is very more, I don't want to say just childish, but it is still more for kids than the later ones. We get to meet a lot of new characters, which I love. Gilderoy Lockhart was so hysterically funny, and Dobby was kind of like the Jar Jar Binks of Harry Potter. I'm sorry, I never really liked Dobby that much. I don't hate him, but like we get to see Professor Sprout and other characters too that I don't remember right now. But the main thing about this that I enjoyed was the mystery of who is the heir of Slytherin, and Harry and his friends go to work to try to solve and find out what is going on. And some very interesting, this one, like the first one, there was a mystery in that too. Like, they are always wrong, and they're trying so hard to solve it and figure everything out, and they just don't get it. But they're kids, so what do you expect? The twist ending, like the first one, was like, oh my god, shocker. And I'm not going to spoil it, but I remember reading that, and it was a little bit confusing to me at the time because I had not read the first book yet, so I wasn't like as familiar with Voldemort and all that stuff. So she does include a summary of the first book in the beginning enough so you know what's going on, but I almost felt like I was missing something. And I if I had known that I also had the first book in my house, I would have put this down and gone and read that first, but it was too late. So this one, Harry and his friends are very much, they have grown a little bit, but they're very much still young children like in the first one. And it is It's pretty low on my list of rankings. I think I'll probably put it second to last. Not because it's not a good book, but just in comparison to the others, it is a little bit weak. So I think that's really the only way it suffers. It's just, in comparison only. As its own book, I still think it's really good, especially, because I read this for, it was my first one and I hadn't read the others. But once I did, I'm like, yeah, putting the two next to each other, this one is not quite as good. So I still have to give this, though, Chamber of Secrets, probably a 9 out of 10. As I said, like, I really cared for Dobby that much. He was like, the Jar Jar or the Scrappy Doo of Harry Potter. There was a lot of other interesting elements in it, but yeah, probably a 9 is what I would go with. Next, I am going to talk about the movie. After my disappointment with the first movie, I did not go see this in theaters. Yeah, this is the only movie that I did not see in theaters, and I'm kind of mad at myself now because of that. I did not see this until my cousins came to visit and they brought the VHS and we watched it. And if it wasn't for that, I might never have watched it. Oh my god, I shudder to think. Uh, anyway, like the first one, this one was also directed by Chris Columbus, and it maintains a lot of the childish, more kid-friendly tone that the first one had. The kids really grew up in this, though, like Harry and Ron voice changing. It was a shocker. Like their first lines of dialogue in this, when they were all high pitched in the first movie, and then all of a sudden they were like talking like this. I was like, oh my god, it was crazy. Uh, Again, this one was a little bit over long. I feel like it was very faithful to the book in some ways. It made the book, some of the book scenes and moments, into more cheesy, kind of kid friendly than they were originally. Like, just some dialogue, some lines, and some scenes. It was, again, very much to appeal to kids without leaving as much for the older crowd. I loved Kenneth Branagh as Gilderoy Lockhart, though. He was probably my favorite thing in the whole movie. He was hilarious. I think he was even funnier than in the book, so I definitely give them points for that. I was a little bit disappointed as to how Ginny's character was treated, because she was pretty minor in the book too. She never really took center stage that often, but in this she really, really was barely in it. And I think, given with how, the whole mystery element played out, they should have featured her a little bit more. It had this, I feel, is probably the weakest of the Harry Potter movies. The kids acting, it definitely improved from the first one. Richard Harris, though, he died, before the movie was even released, God rest his soul. You could really tell he was so feeble in this. I thought it looked almost like he was gonna keel over during the movie. So that his performance, and I know it wasn't his fault, it's because he was dying, and it's kind of sad to watch in retrospect. And he couldn't be the Dumbledore of the book in this because he didn't have the physical strength. That was a bit of a disappointment for me. Also, it has the worst ending out of any of the Harry Potter movies, with the big, cheesy sequence when Hagrid comes in at the end and everybody claps. Oh my god, what were they thinking? They put in enough cheese in this to begin with. They really did not. That just took it to, like, rotten, some kind of gross, rotten, smelly cheese category. That was just bad. What were they thinking? That scene could only have been considered good to 5-year-olds. It's not, I don't know. is not enough that I think the whole movie was ruined. It does have kind of a fun quality to it to seeing this brought to life, but I probably would only give this movie a 6 out of a 10 rating. My least favorite out of the Harry Potter movies. Okay, so I am done with my rambling Chamber of Secrets review, and next I am going to be doing Prisoner of Azkaban.